It is 6:30 Tuesday, March 21st. At this time, I'd like to call to order City Council meeting. And we will start with Pledge of Allegiance, and invocation will be given by Third Ward Council Member Angelita Gunn.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I'm asking that as we're here tonight that we work in the spirit of unity and that we listen politely to each other and listen to other people's viewpoints, that we work unified as a team and combining our ideas for great outcomes in the spirit of camaraderie and on our shared mission.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Mahoney,
Present.
Vice Mayor Robinson, Councilmember Dancy,
Go green.
Councilmember Gunn,
Go white.
Go white, and I'm present.
Is that like green and white?
Green and white.
Councilmember Schlechte,
I go blue.
thank you, Councilmember Bennell,
Here.
Councilmember Forgrave.
Here.
Okay, we are all present and accounted for. Looking for a motion and support for the adoption of the agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, additions, deletions? I would like to offer one addition under new business. Just want to discuss creation of a ad hoc committee for us to create a evaluation process for city manager. Okay.
Second.
All right. It's been supported, seconded, and any other discussion on the agenda? Okay, seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote.
Where did you add that? I'm sorry.
Under new business, whatever item number.
City manager or was all appointed?
We can do all appointed. Okay. And agenda passes unanimously. All right, brings us down to presentations and proclamations. Item 5.1, presentation on Lansing Avenue Corridor Improvement Project. Mr. John Dowling, come on down.
Running the laptop and doing the presentation, so.
Understand.
Tonight, talking about the Lansing Avenue corridor. A little bit of history of that. In the turn of the century, basically, of the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, the automobile started becoming more and more usable and everything else. The Michigan State Highway Department was created in 1905. The 1919 map of the city, I didn't put that on there. This is a 1949 map of the city and county area. The 1919 showed that we had M17 going through the city, basically using Michigan Avenue. And we had M14 as another highway going through, coming down Lansing Avenue, working its way through the city and going out 4th Street. 1925 was the first federal bill to create a highway system of the U.S. highways. 1925 is when M50 was extended up into Jackson. 1926, M17 became US 12, and M14 became US 127. The 127, well, prior to that, the M14 used Lansing Avenue and coming down through. The M50 used Clinton Road and going on out. And so those two both came together in this big Y. And then the first aerial photos we have of the city are the 1950 aerial photos. And it shows that Lansing Avenue down to North Street is a 5-lane road. And so having the two highways merge together, come down through, down to Stewart, they had the 5-lane road through there. In the 1930s is when they started switching 127 over to West Avenue. And it was completed going over there, and then in the 50s are when changes to the highway system. By 1953, Lansing Avenue in St. Clair was turned back from MDOT back to city streets. But even in the past number of years, from 53 to 2023, no changes have been made to Lansing Avenue. It's just, it was that way, and that's how it got rebuilt over the years, and it remained that wide. It has seen a number of changes, though. In 1967, Stewart and Lansing Avenue were made a one-way pair, and that operated until 2013, when the one-way pair was changed back to a two-way. Because of that change, Lansing Avenue and Ganson had only 2 lanes there, but we had left turn movements going on, and so in 2016, that intersection was modified to give a left turn lane for southbound traffic. Some of the corridor improvements that we're looking to make right now, at the south end of this corridor, actually starting all the way down where Blackstone and Glick, we wanted to improve that intersection also and widen it out to 3 lanes so that the southbound left turn has a lane there. And then at the Lansing Blackstone, we wanted to change the intersection so that it came in as a T intersection there. We applied for funding, but our first attempt was not successful, and we plan on continue working on that in the south end of this corridor. The areas that we have applied for funding and have on the tip, Lansing Avenue and Stewart, the intersection we want to do there, in the thoroughfare plan that was put together way back in 2002, it showed when we converted it from a one-way to a two-way, we were going to turn the intersection and make it a T intersection with Lansing Avenue. At the time that we got the funding or the ability to start making that two-way, we weren't ready to make that connection, and so we put in that slip ramp of Stewart to still come down off Lansing Avenue and connect in, and northbound makes that turn to go in. This would make the improvements to go with what was proposed in the thoroughfare plan. At North Street, we're planning, the proposal is to take it from the 5 lanes down to 3 lanes to match how Lansing Avenue is further north of Clinton, and to have allow more green space, move the roadway so that it's not right all pavement like you see in the one picture, as where it's just sidewalk, 5 lanes of road, sidewalk, and the building fronts on either side. So by eliminating the 2 lanes, that allows you to put in some green space in there. The Lansing Avenue and Clinton, this is one where the big Y intersection that we were talking about, and it just is a lot of pavement out there, and you would be able to acquire this green space by changing around and keeping the road in the right-of-ways, but making the change so that Clinton curves around and heads up with Hill Street and the 3 lanes of Lansing Avenue going through there. We would be putting new mast arm signals there. Part of this is for safety improvements. Lansing Avenue, when you travel through the intersection of Clinton, you have basically a no man's land. This was a problem so that over the years, people asked for additional lane striping. 2018, we added those lane striping so that people, as they're coming southbound on Lansing Avenue, know where their lanes are and how to flow around through to continue on the south side of Clinton. This would eliminate that big wide area. This intersection is basically from stop bar to stop bar. The yellow lines on the north side and south side there is 189 feet. If a car is traveling 25 miles an hour, that's the same as being 36.67 feet per second. To go that 189 feet takes them 5.15 seconds. So if a light turns yellow, it takes them more than 5 seconds to clear that intersection before they're on the other side. By making the changes to this, putting it as a regular cross intersection, you now have brought those stop bars in, so they're only 64 feet apart. That takes 1.75. So it's a lot safer for traffic going through there. You're not in the intersection, you're not going through an area for southbound where people didn't even know where their lanes were until we added additional lines. And Hill Street currently has a stop sign. If you come up Hill Street, you start looking, you don't even know what light the lights are, whether it's red or green for Lansing Avenue traffic. And so that would improve this by making them part of the signalized intersection so that you don't have to guess what is going on if you come up Hill Street. With this project also, we got some safety grant money, not only to do the signals at Lansing and North, Lansing and Clinton, we also got money to do Lansing and Monroe, and then also Ganson and Jackson. And so those would all have new mast arm signals. And then we would also, the signals at Lansing and Ganson, when we did those a few years ago, they don't have any back plates on them, so all you're looking at is just the signal heads. This would add a additional plate around the signal and then have the yellow reflective, which makes them more visible and improves safety. There's also the crosswalks for children that are going down through at Bacchus and North and at on Clinton Street, Bacchus and Clinton, that we would be adding some additional signing and crosswalks, and then some new signing at Monroe and Clinton, where that is. So that's why we're calling this a corridor, because it's not just Lansing Avenue in and of itself, but we've got safety money to make improvements a little further out. And that's the presentation to show what the different items of work that we're putting together. Is there any questions from council?
Council, what questions do we have? Okay, thank you
Alright.
very much.
Give me a moment, I need to pull my thumb drive out, put another one in.
All right. All right, so while we are getting prepared with technology, that will bring us down to item 5.2, presentation by Fishbeck on State of Michigan Department of Great Lakes and Energy 2024 Clean Water State Revolving Fund Project Plan.
I'm Erin Shgelniak. I'm a senior engineer with Fishbeck, and I want to thank the council for your time this evening. Hold on. This presentation is part of a public meeting for the wastewater treatment plant. Fishbeck is assisting the city with a 5-year planning document, and this is part of application for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which provides low-interest loans. Just a moment. Sorry, John. There was a, can you exit out? The fund provides low-interest loans for public wastewater system improvements, so this plan is just to apply for the loans. So the need for the project is to replace aging equipment, improve operations at the plant and treatment reliability, and ultimately to avoid water quality problems. The DPW has identified 7 priorities at the plant to implement over the next 5 years. The first is for the grit tanks. The principal alternative considered here will be to replace the 60-year-old tanks with more efficient vortex grit technology, and by installing these new tanks, we'll be able to capture grit that's currently settling in the interceptor. The anticipated project cost for this component is $6.6 million. The second is the storm pump station that transfers flow over to the large retention basin. The principal alternative considered is optimizing the existing facilities by replacing old pumps and bringing the building up to code. The anticipated project cost for this is $1.6 million. The third component is backup power due to a recent loss of both utility feeds. The principal alternative considered here is to provide a standby generator. To power the entire plant is anticipated cost $1.4 million. The fourth component to address is the anaerobic digesters, which are used to reduce the biosolids. The principal alternative here would optimize the existing facilities by focusing on 4 tanks, where we'd provide new internals, including heating coils and mixing equipment and new covers. Struggling here. And mixing equipment, new covers, which are currently failing, and then rehab the concrete tanks. The anticipated cost for all 4 tanks here is $10 million. There's also a need to improve flow control to and from the retention basin. There are large valves in need of replacement, and operations would be improved with the addition of a flow meter and updating controls. And the anticipated cost for this is $1.8 million. The sixth component is addressing operational issues with the UV disinfection system. The principal alternative here would provide updates to improve operations and meet design standards for peak flow and redundancy that are currently lacking. Anticipated costs for this are $3.9 million. And then the last component to be addressed is the final clarifier tanks, where the focus would be replacing internals in the existing 7 tanks and working to improve hydraulic isolation so tanks could be taken offline individually. For all 7 tanks here, the anticipated cost is $9 million. And again, these 7 components would be over 5 years, possibly in multiple 20-year loans, totaling in the range of $34.3 million. The current interest rate is 2.75% through SRF, and this equates to a total annual debt payment of $2,250,000 per year. The DPW is currently conducting a rate study that is anticipated to recommend a 6% annual increase in user rates to cover this and other improvements, I believe under over 10 years, hopefully. And then this would represent an increase of $7.80 per quarter for a typical residential usage of 1,800 cubic feet per quarter. The social impacts for the project should be positive, creating temporary construction jobs. There should be no impacts to historical sites or traffic routes, as the work is limited to the previously disturbed treatment site. And it will allow the plant to accept flow from industrial and community growth. Any environmental impacts will be mitigated to the extent possible. There should be no impact to threatened or endangered species, and design will follow all regulations for floodplain requirements. Construction will use soil erosion and sedimentation control methods, and overall the project should have a positive impact to the wastewater treatment plant operations and reliability. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Council, what questions do we have?
When they're doing the rate study, think of us the history of the last 20 years on sewer rates.
We do, of course.
And the rate study, is that gonna include comparison to other municipalities? I know we did that in the past when we increased the water bill. And while they're doing that for sewer, can we just get one on the water too?
We probably can.
Because our bills come together. And when you say it's for 10 years, does that mean it's like one time 6% increase in the cost to the consumer? Or is it 6% for 10 years?
I have some staff members champing at the bit that,
It's anticipated to do the rate study every 2 years.
Sorry,
come on up, Chandra.
come on down.
Hi, I'm Chandra Willinger. I am the Public Works Utilities Fiscal Supervisor. Can you hear it? Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
There we go.
Okay. We do rate studies every 2 years to adjust our rates accordingly for either water or sewer. So the 6%, we would obviously review that again in 2 years for any changes. We like to make sure that our rates are in line with what we need for operations and maintenance, repairs, and capital projects, that we're not erroneously raising rates for any reason.
So it's 6%, which would just be for the two, it's not 6% this year and then another 6%.
We're still in the process of the rate study. We're finalizing that probably in the next month, and we'll have something for you at the May meeting.
Is it safe to say then that like rough napkin math says a 1% or a one-time rate increase of 6% is going to pay for this project over 20 years? Is
As
that
of
the
right now, it
idea?
would be 6% over 2 years,
Okay.
is what they anticipated. We usually do a 2-year rate study. So we'd bring a resolution to council for approval for 2 years.
So then the adjusted rate after that 2 years would be based off of if the 6% covered.
Covers the debt, covers
The debt,
operations and
okay.
maintenance and repairs and capital projects, correct.
What are we doing to plan, so how long is this repair, replacement, this
The life
$4
expect,
million? How long is it gonna last? 10 years or 20 or 35, 50?
The plan is for a 20-year planning study, so all the equipment is anticipated to last at least 20 years.
And what are we doing as a municipality to prepare for 20 years from now, when that needs to be replaced again? Like, do you have a capital improvement? Like, are you budgeting for that now, or no?
We always do that, yes.
Well, you know, past, not you, but past, we wouldn't have the road problems that we have.
Understood.
Thanks for dumping that one.
We wouldn't have a $35 million project.
Right, and I want Will's daughter to not have this problem. Just saying.
It's a great goal. That's what we're striving to meet.
thank you.
One last request. Could we also get that presentation sent to us as well.
Yes,
we have it,
absolutely.
so we can
Okay,
send it to you.
perfect.
Actually, you can keep the flash
the thumb
drive.
drive?
Yes.
Sweet.
Finally got some unfinished back to I'll give it to you.
All right. Okay, brings us down to item 6, public hearings. 6.1, the Lansing Avenue Corridor Improvement Project. Looking for a motion to support to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. So I will start by saying this is for this particular item on the agenda. If you are interested in commenting, which I do not have any for public hearing, Mr. Thurston, I just wanted to clarify, you just want regular citizen comment, correct? Okay, cool. So I have no form for public hearing for this particular public hearing. Anything from the clerk via email? I'm sorry. Oh, I guess we got to vote on that first. My bad. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm surprised anybody.
Just do it.
Anybody else? But nobody. I was going to just breeze on past. Okay. At this time, the clerk will tally and display the vote on opening the public hearing before we have the public hearing.
Did you get mine?
Okay, passes unanimous. And public hearing is now open. Like I said, I don't have any forms from anyone who was interested in speaking on this public hearing. I will open the opportunity for council if there are any comments from council during this public hearing. Okay, before we
got
get,
something to say.
I know, he held it. Hold on, before you get started.
Don't even bother.
Oh, no, I'm a bother, just for public hearing. So I just want to read the rules for speaking before council during public hearing. Number 1, each speaker will state their name and address. Number 2, during public hearings, the city council may enact a timeline on all speakers to ensure that all present get an equal chance to speak. City council members may answer questions during this time. Number 3, each speaker shall be polite and courteous to the council and members of the public in attendance. While any speaker is free to express his or her opinion on any subject, no speaker may direct personal attacks at any member of the staff or council unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties, use obscene language while addressing the city council, or engage in disruptive or disorderly behavior during a council meeting. Number 4, should the mayor determine that any of the items listed in number 3 occur, the mayor may declare the speaker out of order. Number 5, if a speaker is declared out of order, the mayor by the mayor and refuses to cease and desist from disruptive or disorderly conduct, the mayor may order the person removed from the meeting. Mr. Burnmouth, proceed.
Peter Bournemouth, 142 West Pearl Street. I am in general support of this Lansing Avenue Corridor Improvement Project. I just wanted to ask John one thing about the intersection where you were claiming that the braking distance was reduced by 4 seconds. Is that correct?
It's not really the braking, it's just how long the vehicle would take to travel through there.
To cross through the intersection?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Going at 25.
Because currently the orange light there doesn't last long enough to give people clearance?
Correct.
And is that something that you could resolve by making the orange light last longer?
It is, but people then will run the light more because they'll get used to the fact that, well, that yellow stays on there a long time and you'll get more and more running the light.
Well, you know, I mean, the orange lights are not standard throughout the city. They last different, you know, intervals of time.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, so that drivers have an idea of how long those are going to last. Wouldn't it be better? I mean, obviously, in some cases, the intersection is so wide, you need more time to get through it. But for the most part, wouldn't it be a good idea to standardize those?
It is standardized based on speed, the length of the intersection. Those factors go into setting what the yellow or orange phase that you're talking about.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Mr. John C. King, I'm assuming this is the public hearing that you wanted to speak on, this one, not the next one?
Correct.
Okay, come on down.
John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. I think I like the way this project is set up. You know, I would say, oh, go ahead and do it. Now, the issue with that, though, is I know a lot of the local homeowners and things like that, businesses, had mentioned the extra costs that would be on them. I know at the when Laura had the ward meeting in the neighborhood, I know there are a lot of people complain about that, so that would be a concern that, you know, I from what I could tell, there were a lot of people that had that concern. And then, but I think when John mentioned, you know, the old days, the way they had, because I think of Spring Arbor coming into like Brown Street and Morrell. I wish that could be done in some way. I know it's not just the city that would be involved, I don't think, but, you know, so, but for the project, I think it would be good. You know, it's just the concerns of the people that, you know, have to, you know, pay the assessments. Thank you.
Any comments from council?
I have one. So what's the process after this?
The process after this is, at some point, you guys will get the business in front of you to establish an assessment role and award construction documents and engineering documents. Is that correct, John? I think he's got it in front of him. I don't have it in front of me.
Yes, basically, as we continue the design, there will be the hearing and necessity that will come before council. The Lansing Avenue construction is not even funded until 2025. So I'm bringing this to council just to let you know, the safety improvements for the traffic signals are in 2024 funding. And so we will be able to start and get foundations in on the outlying intersections and get the poles and signals ordered, but they take about a year to arrive anyway. That's what we're experiencing on our other projects. And so by the time we get under construction in 2025, then the poles will be arriving at that time. So that will fall together in good timing there. But the next thing that will happen after this will be the hearing and necessity, probably almost a year from now.
Thank you. And then, I probably don't need to know now, but what's the detour gonna be? Does it stay on the major roads or does it cut, will it be like Bacchus? You know?
As we sign all of our detours, they will stay on the major roads. Problem with detours is people that are familiar with the area know that they can cut down side streets and go on through. We had this number of years ago working on West Avenue. You detour them over to Wisner. Well, most people know as soon as I go to Grinnell, I can just zip down that road and we got,
But they have stop sign. Go ahead, Mr.
but the residents there are complaining that they've got the West Avenue traffic going down through there. Similar things, I mean, we'll set this up so that traffic from Lansing Avenue will be detoured to West Avenue to go around. And then it just becomes partially just getting people to cooperate, or it's an enforcement issue to deal with people that are speeding through local streets.
And do you have a time frame as to when Bacchus and Bennett are up for repaving? Because those streets are.
Pretty bad.
We don't have anything on local streets at this time, no.
Excuse me, any other comments? Okay, seeing or hearing none, we will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved in support. Any comments, questions, discussion on the motion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. And this particular item doesn't require a motion or any action afterwards, right? Okay, brings us to item 6.2, looking for a motion and support to open the public hearing and a resolution to adopt the final project plan for the city's application for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Right, and the public hearing is now open. Council, any comments from you guys? I don't have any forms for this public hearing either. Just looking at anybody who might bring one up all of a sudden.
Are you looking at Peter?
I was. Any comments from council?
On the resolution,
Uh,
just the hearing?
Just on the hearing itself.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay. Public hearing is now closed. Now I'm looking for a motion to support to approve the resolution to adopt the City of Jackson Water State Revolving Fund final project plan and the Director of Public Works as the authorized and appoint the Director of Public Works as the authorized representative.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Any discussion?
I just want to confirm that this resolution does not include the rate increase, which I didn't see it in there.
Confirmed, does not.
And what happens if this resolution passes and then the rate increase comes in front of us and council doesn't approve a rate increase to cover any of the differences? Does that affect this resolution at any point?
All you're doing right now is effectively giving us permission to go after this fund. And if we get it and you don't, at the same time, do not approve a rate increase, then we'd have to talk about, well, maybe we shouldn't accept it or do something different, find other sources of money to do it. So it's a future discussion.
Okay. The clerk will tally and display the vote. passes unanimously. Okay, that brings us down to public comment. All right, just want to start by reading the rules for speaking before City Council during public comment. Number one, each speaker will state their name and address prior to addressing council. Number two, each speaker is limited up to 3 minutes. During the citizens' comment portion of the meeting, council members will not debate or answer any questions at this time. Number three, each speaker should be polite and courteous to the council and members of the public in attendance, while any speaker is free to express his or her opinion on any subject. No speaker may direct personal attacks at any member of the staff or council unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties. Use obscene language while addressing city council or engage in disruptive or disorderly behavior during a council meeting. Number four, should any speaker cause a breach of the peace through their conduct, the mayor may declare the speaker out of order. Number five, if a speaker is declared out of order by the mayor and refuses to cease and desist from disruptive or disorderly conduct, the mayor may order the person removed from the meeting. Number six, each speaker may speak once under public comment and may not yield their time to others. Mr. Roger Mulford.
Thank you, Council. My name is Roger Mulford. I reside at 5696 Shady Oak Lane, Jackson, 49201. And I want to thank you for allowing us to have this time. And after reading the city's newsletter, I was real pleased to see the Mayor Mahoney thanking the for the partnerships and organizations and the people of Jackson to help move certain things forward. Now, the people are coming to you to partner and give us the rights and freedoms to choose to use ethanogenic plants without fear of an outdated, failed war on drugs. I gave the clerk a copy of a resolution that was used in Ann Arbor, made out for Jackson. There are a ton of references in there. It's a very well thought out, very good document. She's going to be emailing that to you tomorrow. I request, please take a look through that, copy paste some of the references into your Google and look them up and see just in how well many of these ethanogenic plants have worked to help people for so many different reasons. Ethanogenics are moving quickly across the United States and in Michigan. Like I said last time I was here, there are now 4 municipalities in Michigan where the city council has passed the decriminalization of ethanogenics within their municipality by a unanimous vote. It's my goal, I hope, that we can get the city council here to give us a unanimous vote as well. But if we can't, we are planning on going to the ballot in November. And I can tell you we've got enough volunteers right now to get signatures that it could almost just sign the ballot initiatives to get it on its own. So many of the people that I have talked to, and they keep coming out, asking me where they could maybe get some ethanogenics. In particular, they're looking for magic mushrooms and that. And unfortunately, I just have to tell them, go to Ann Arbor, Detroit, and see what you can find, which is very dangerous. And I just hate that thought that they can't get a reliable source for what they're looking for. If you need a copy of Ann Arbor's ordinance, I'd be happy to get that to you as well to review. We're moving forward very fast. There is the plan on having it back on the ballot in 4 for the state. And there are a number of other municipalities that are moving forward as well. So whatever I can do to help put Jackson on the map with this, please let me know. I'm here to answer any questions. And if anybody here wants to help volunteer to get the signatures, contact me. Thank you,
Roger. Mr. John C. King.
John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. I'm wearing this hat during my comment to protest the continuous persecution of President Trump by the political left, including the Manhattan DA that ran for office saying he was going to prosecute President Trump for something. After being the victim of an extortion attempt, President Trump is undergoing the threat by that Manhattan DA of being charged with a crime, not out of the law or evidence, but out of pure politics. Locally, the city of Jackson has decided to push the big con job of residents in action, including in the newsletter. The newsletter has a photo of RIA's CEO allegedly preparing food, of all things healthy salads. As we all here know, that is a deception, a big lie really, to try to counteract the truth that RIA's meals were really things like hot dogs and junk food. The newsletter also tries to counteract the truth that a great majority of the so-called homeless in the city have drug abuse and mental health issues. The sheriff's office posted on Facebook a few days after the story about a blind man at America's Best Motel that is further evidence of how poorly the money and efforts the city has put towards residents in action has been spent. Then there's the money committed to the pallet shelters and T.A. Wilson School that won't be available until the weather is warm or maybe even hot. The city council has misspent city resources, and there still is no data online regarding much of it. To reward itself on the agenda is the resolution to move to even-year elections in which the next future term each council member here very well may be running for will increase by a year. As I addressed in my email to this council, Connor Wood and the city clerk are using a subsection of a statute that addresses a term of office in which someone is already serving to address a future term. It means an election can't be held next year, 2024, for wards 1, 3, and 5. Later in the statute, it states terms can't be more than 4 years. If this council wants to move to even-year elections, it needs to be ethical and follow the law and do as the City Charter Review Committee proposed with the aid of the city attorney then. Finally, since you were absent from the last meeting and didn't give a comment at the previous meeting, I would ask you again, Mr. Mayor, to give a comment about where you disagree with Keisha Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Greer.
Daniel Greer, 810 Loomis Street. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Mahoney and Honorable City Council members and staff and fellow citizens. I'm here tonight to just mention once again my comments from 2 weeks ago regarding the changing of the elections to the even years. That was a recommendation of the previous Charter Review Committee, and you all have that information. I don't think I need to reiterate my support for doing that. It should save the city money and possibly even increase voter turnout and make elections more efficient. So, with that being said, I'm also before you here tonight as the chairman of the Local Officers Compensation Commission. We met and reviewed and studied the wages or salaries of the elected officials. We are a volunteer committee. We volunteer our time to come in and review what you all are paid, which is pretty much peanuts, as we all know. And having been in your seat for many years in the past, I found it odd that this item would even come before the city council, although it does have to be, there is a process to follow. So I purposely requested that this item go on your consent calendar. I would hope that no one pulls this off the consent calendar, in my opinion, to vote this down, in other words. That's the only action that you can do. It would be to take it off the consent calendar to vote it down, which in my opinion is simply grandstanding, and I encourage you to not do that. Don't make this a campaign issue because it's really peanuts, folks, let's face it. It's not something worth arguing over, and it's sort of a slap in the face to our volunteer committee that decides this for you all. And you're, again, not paid hardly at all, but we thought there should be some increases. So thank you for your time. Thank you for the good work and hard work that you're doing. I know it's fairly thankless, but I want to thank you, and I'll give you a hand clap.
Brian Farkas? Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
You gotta be careful with that one.
That's why I asked.
Brian Farkas, 1415 Parker Street, Detroit, Michigan. Thank you for having me here, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm here representing Allen Edwin Home Builders. We're looking at a substantial investment in the city on vacant owned land. And before we get into the details of the proposal, I think it's interesting if we go through the context of where we are in the state. Currently, we're experiencing an unprecedented housing shortage at all income levels, primarily the missing middle workforce housing. That's defined as the 80 to 120% of the area median income. In response to this, the state legislature recently changed the MSHDA laws to allow for a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes. Traditionally, this was done for low-income housing programs, those below 80%. Because of the unprecedented shortage, they've increased the AMI to 120%. So we can now work directly with municipalities to do payment in lieu of taxes for housing programs that are in that category. So why we're here in Jackson? In traveling around the state, Jackson's name kept on coming up. You got to work in Jackson. I went down to Tecumseh about a month ago, and Jackson was specifically held up as a place that's very friendly to developers. The building officials are friendly. The guidelines are very clear. It's easy to do business there. That's one of the reasons why we're here. Also, the availability of vacant land is something we're very interested in. So the proposal before you encompasses about 136 vacant lots. We're going to do that in small chunks. We're going to go slow. We're going to make sure we're doing it right, but we want to build out 100 and some houses in 4 to 5 years. So I think you get the PA before you. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take that. I'll respect the format. Mr. Mayor, I'll look to you how you want to proceed.
Thank you.
Yes.
They should have put you on the agenda as item so we could have some conversation.
Oh, you can't do
But
questions.
it is an agenda item, so we may do that.
I'll stand by. Thank you.
I'll ask you a question in a second. Nicholas Thurston.
Hi, good evening. It's interesting that they would come here, the company that just presented, and make comments about how Jackson is specifically mentioned when they're going around the state and trying to do business. Oh, sorry. I said it's interesting that Jackson is specifically mentioned by the company that has previously presented as an area to do business and look for these vacant lots and stuff. This is something that I called out about 10 years ago, the rapid decrease in housing. Cities are being incentivized to knock down all of these single-family homes in the areas and then sell these lots for next to nothing to developers who want to come in and completely dominate small cities. And, when they say there's a shortage of housing and all this sort of stuff, I don't really believe that, because if you look at cities like Detroit, they used to have 2 million people that live there, and now it's floating around like 600,000 or something due to several decades of harmful policies that are being pushed in the name of affirmative action, things like this, and they have not actually helped the people that they claimed the federal money was going to support. You see that there are more people, women and minorities, absolutely buried in debt with these college programs, insurmountable debt that they will never be able to afford to pay off. So out of the $2 trillion of student loan debt, right now almost all of it is held by women and minorities. So was that a success or a failure? I don't think it was a success. And a lot of the policies that people are bringing up now were things that the same parties did 20, 30 years ago, consistently knocking down on the houses, getting the same recommendations from organizations now that are saying to do the opposite. They said, oh, yeah, it'd be a good idea to knock down all these houses and in the name of blight, and we can get state money or federal grants or whatever. They did that. Now the complaint is, well, there's not enough places for people to live, but your population has decreased at such a dramatic rate. Jackson is a city that is built for about anywhere from 75,000 to maybe 100,000 people. We currently have about 30,000 people here. There are plenty of places to live. There's plenty of space to live. Private landlords are struggling to fill their apartments, and they're getting nickeled and dimed left and right on all these inspection fees and that they can never seem to pass. And it's always something, because you have these complexes or just the field of industry itself, I think, is sort of complex to navigate. But the nonprofit organizations that are getting tons of money to develop here are seemingly skirting all regulations of any kind, which they're supposed to have more rules. And under the city of Jackson, they have, it seems like, none. Thank you.
Christy Davis.
Good evening, Kirsty Davis, 612 4th Street. I've been working with Karen, our ward person in 5th Ward, and I am working on organizing a cleanup day for Ward 5. Looking at Saturday, May the 6th. I've also been speaking with Andrea in the DDA office. I'm still working on getting some funds and some organizations to help donate stuff for it, but to do some cleaning, yard debris, weed whacking for the overgrown alleys and such. Any garbage that people have, furniture that, doesn't ordinarily get picked up with trash. And also any recycling that we can pick up and then hopefully turn into OmniSource and then donate the money to Together We Can Make a Difference, which is also in Ward 5. And then I'm hoping to have a dinner for Ward 5 residents in a couple different locations in the evening. So just want to throw that out there, just something we're working on. Yep. Thank you. Oh. And I did want to say, I lived in an Alan Edwin house for a little while in Leslie, and they fantastic housing.
Peter Bormuth.
Peter Bournemouth, 142 West Pearl Street. Just some little items before I start. We still don't get to see how council members voted. This is a technology thing that, has taken months now. It shouldn't take that long. And we're not reset to daylight savings time on our clock either here. So just little things. Maybe you can get to work on that. I want to talk about Jackson a little. As someone mentioned last week, it's a Rust Belt city. We had all our manufacturing leave because of the decision of some people in charge of automotive companies who wanted cheaper labor. And they moved first the facilities down south, like to Tennessee and, Alabama, and then they moved facilities to Mexico and China. And we exported our manufacturing technology to China, and now all of a sudden we're trying to, recreate it. Now, that left us with excess housing. There was a lot of, vacant homes, people that, weren't here, absentee landlords, created some dilapidated conditions, and the city decided to use federal funds to destroy all these houses. So the city created the housing shortage we are now facing, and the homeless issues we're now facing. Okay? I mean, that's the reality. Derek Dobies and Patrick Birch did that. I don't want to put any blame on the mayor. He wasn't here at the time. He was at the county. I don't want to put any blame on Jonathan Green, the city manager. He was at the Department of Public Works. Neither one of these individuals were responsible, and this council has changed somewhat. But there are people on here that voted for all those demolitions, and that is what created our current crisis. We took a lot of good housing or housing that could have been rehabilitated and demolished it. Now, I'm all in support of the city, re-energizing its tax base, particularly with single-family homes. Because what has happened is with all the new construction of apartments, there's been a transfer of wealth from individual homeowners to investors in apartment buildings. That's what's happened. Let's be real about that. So I think the proposal to bring single-family homes into some of these vacant lots is an excellent proposal. I think that's good long-term for the city. It's good for, building the tax base, and it's good that people will be able to own these homes. Now, if they're just rentals, that's a little bit of a different matter. Once again, I'd like to see the people who are working class, the people who have jobs, to be able to own a home. That's the first thing that gives you some stability in this culture, where you're not giving all your money to a landlord.
Thank you, Mr. Borman.
Mr. Mahoney.
William Hastings.
Questions, and more questions tonight, yet there never seem to be any real answers, follow through, or basic accountability from City Council or the mayor. Maybe it's not fair to ask very much from the mayor, who has been so very, very busy lately setting up nonprofits to solicit donations from various local businesses and entities, many of whom do business with the city, while acting as mayor of Jackson. This is classic pay-to-play and a basic conflict of interest. This is selling City Hall itself to the highest bidder, yet the members of this council sit on their collective behinds like bored school children and say and do nothing. Still more unanswered questions. Where's the full accounting of public funds spent by residents in action? We're asking for that week after week, month after month. Why isn't that posted online for all to see? What exactly are the personal and financial ties of members of Residents in Action to members of this city government's officials, including City Council and the mayor? It is alleged that Residents in Action has previously run people out of their group due to their race. Where's the public inquiry into this allegation? It is alleged also that Residents in Action is picking and choosing beneficiaries of the tax money that they are spending based on their race as well. Where's the public inquiry into this allegation? You have failed as a body to perform due diligence, and when the full unvarnished truth about RIA comes to light, there will be nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and no one to blame but yourselves. Now you want to build a homeless campus in Jackson so your friends and acquaintances can continue to milk federal grant money. Imagine what downtown would look like with scores, if not hundreds, of aggressive panhandlers, needles, garbage, and human waste everywhere. San Francisco literally spent $1.1 billion, that's billion with a B, on homeless programs in 2021 to 2022 alone. And that city is so fallen that there are smartphone apps showing people where human waste and piles of needles are so they can be avoided by pedestrians. $2.8 billion has been spent on homeless programs in that one city since 2016, and the end result is a 56% increase. 56% increase in homelessness and large businesses and citizens in flight out of that state, never to return. This is exactly what you are inviting into Jackson with open arms, not because you are noble humanitarians, you are not. But also elected officials can get a giant fresh pile of federal dollars to dish out to family and friends. There are going to be some very pointed discussions to be had with all of you on the campaign trail this year.
Kentello.
I don't know if I can follow that, but. My name is Ken Tello. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for Nation Outside. Mr. Mayor and honorable city council members. Nation Outside would like to take a moment to thank you for always being on the side of justice. On January 14, 2020, this honorable council adopted a resolution recommending that the state of Michigan pass legislation to expand expungement. Several months later, the legislation was signed into law in October of 2020. In March of 2021, this council again was on the cutting edge when it adapted the Fair Chance Housing Ordinance to advance the ability of people with criminal records to access housing. Nation Outside has returned again to ask this council once again push the state forward by resolving that the state of Michigan should adapt fair chance housing for all of Michigan. As a refresher, the Fair Housing Ordinance will prohibit landlords from asking potential tenants about their conviction history during the initial screening process, postpone any background check until a conditional lease is offered, prevent landlords from unfairly denying applicants housing solely based on their criminal history unless the record would impact public safety, property, or the other tenants adversely, allow potential tenants to offer evidence of rehabilitation prior to final denial by the landlord. This is important because stable and safe housing leads to reduced recidivism and increased public safety. When formerly incarcerated people have access to secure housing, they are more likely to be employed. Communities are more stable and economically viable when people have access to housing, jobs, and education. The Fair Chance at Housing Act seeks to expand housing opportunities for people with records who have served their time and are seeking to provide themselves and their families. We thank you for allowing us to present here today, and we look forward to a statewide push becoming successful. Thank you.
Right. That concludes the citizens' comments. Brings us down to item number 8, petitions and communication from city staff and other governmental entities to be accepted and placed on file. 8.1, looking for a motion and support to accept and place on file on the receipt of the draft 2023-2024 annual action plan for CDBG Home.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Passes unanimously. Brings us down to 8.2, looking for a motion and support to accept and place on file the CDBG Home and CV financial summaries for February 2023.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. And 8.2 passes unanimously. Brings us down to the item number 9, the consent calendar. Looking for a motion and support on the consent calendar.
Motion for the consent calendar to remove 9.2, 9.3, and 9.4 for separate consideration.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. passes unanimously. Brings us down to consent calendar item 9.2. Looking for a motion to support on the LOCC recommendation for city treasurer.
Motion to approve the resolution for the city treasurer.
Support.
It's been motioned and supported, but just would like to add a request for that to be. The resolution. Is to not approve. Okay. Okay, so just clarification, the resolution attached is to not approve the recommendation.
Oh. I make a motion to approve the recommendation. Make the resolution state that we approve the recommendation from the LOC.
You would need a resolution, Mr. Mayor, if I can provide a bit of clarity based on the ordinance that's adopted. The LLCC ordinance provides that unless the city council rejects by a 2/3 majority, 5 out of 7 of you, the recommendations, then the LOCC recommendations would be adopted. So each of the resolutions set forth are to actually reject the recommendation. So in this instance, if council seeks to adopt the recommendations of the LLCC, since you took it off of the consent, a simple motion to approve would be in order, but you would not adopt the resolution, if that makes sense.
I see. I'll make a motion to approve the LOCC's recommendations for city treasurer, council, and mayor.
Right, you separated the three of them though.
No, I just removed them from the agenda. I'm combining them, but if you would prefer me to separate them.
I'm a little confused. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know
Okay,
if
well, we
anybody
can
else
keep them
is.
separated. I'll withdraw that, and I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the LOCC for treasurer.
I'll support that. 3 times the charm.
Okay.
There you go.
There's a motion and support to approve the recommendation. In other words, not the resolution, but the recommendation of the LOCC.
For 9.2 treasurer.
And thank
For
you for the
9.2
clarification.
treasurer. Okay. Any questions on the motion on the floor?
Yes, and what that means.
I know.
That means to approve a.
Approve it.
Yes. Recommendation is
Approve the recommendation.
for a 2% increase.
But where is, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the resolution saying different?
Resolution is to reject the recommendation of the LOCC. So to not give a 2% increase.
But the motion is to approve the recommendation from the LOCC, so we
Right,
don't
we
need the
stated that part
resolution.
already.
Okay, so we're approving the recommendation, but what happens to the resolution when we do
Nothing.
that?
Goes
We do
away.
nothing with it. Okay, seeing or hearing no other questions, the clerk will tally and display the vote.
Never.
Okay, passes unanimously. And that brings us down to item 9.3. Looking for a motion and support to approve the local officers compensation commission's recommendation regarding the city council's salary.
I make that motion.
Support.
It's been moved and supported.
So,
So it's to support the recommendation.
That is to support the recommendation.
Is to approve the increase.
Recommendation is
Yes.
for increase.
Yes.
And that increases for a year, correct? 1 year. It's not per month, it's
That
total.
is
Right.
for fiscal year 2024,
2024.
right? Okay, no other questions. The clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, and it passes 6-1. Brings us down to, and just for clarification, because I know it's going to be asked, 6, the one was Councilmember Forgray. 4-0. Okay, that brings us down to item 9.4. Looking for a motion and support to approve the local officers' compensation commission's recommendation regarding the mayor's salary.
I make that motion.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
So that's, the mayor would make
$250
$20,
more.
almost $21 a month more. Just to put it in perspective.
Oh, have you been to the cigar?
Maybe one. I
cigar
like good
plantation?
ones.
After taxes, you're paying to be mayor.
Man, okay, passes unanimously. Y'all should have asked for a little more than that.
$22 a month. Can I make a statement? I do want to thank the local commission, and it wasn't pulled off for grandstanding. It's for, to me, it's just, I don't want it hidden in a consent agenda. I want it open and obvious as to what we're doing, so, thank you.
Okay, we have no other business. Under new business, we are at 11.1. Transition of city elections from odd number years to even number years. Recommendation is to approve a
Can I-
resolution.
Can I ask a question before you go on? What happened to the homeless update that's usually on there?
You know, I'm putting this together. I got inundated with new business and I completely slipped my mind.
Can we
I've
add
lived this
that
so many
as a
times.
item 10 before, because that's usually where it falls.
You can do whatever you want to do.
Can I make a motion to add that to the agenda? I make a motion to add under Agenda 10, the homeless situation update. It's usually there, so I apologize for not catching that when you
Yeah,
approved
me
the
too.
agenda.
It's all good.
Put so many things on the agenda, I didn't think about that.
You did
All right,
have a lot of stuff.
I'll
on
second that.
it. Okay.
Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote to add a item under number 10. So we can hear from Ms. Tasha.
I thought my granddaughter was going to make her debut to be a productive citizen at city council, but
Did we put her to sleep?
she went to sleep.
Do we have to vote on adding that?
Yeah.
We do.
Oh.
She working on it.
Okay. I just didn't want Tasha to start talking before.
Okay. unanimous. Ms. Tasha?
All right. So, whew, first of all, I guess I would say the homeless event is scheduled on April 6th from 11 to 7. It will be at the St. John's Church of Christ, United Center for Caring, 801 Mechanic Street.
What's that date? Did you say
April 6th. It's on a Thursday, 11 to 7. We have about 42 vendors right now who have signed up to come, and the intent of that is to help those that we have not been able to help. We have almost 300, I think, on the waiting list now that we have not been able to place in the hotel. So the intent is to help them. As far as the project, the cliff has arrived. I think we have 5 rooms open right now, and everyone else has either secured stable permanent housing. Thank goodness we did have some successes there, or have secured alternative funding for temporary shelter. And then we did have to release some back to the streets. So, and then the 5 that are, I think it's 5, it might be 6. The 5 that are in are either elderly, where we're working with Adult Protective Services to help, or it's families with small children that we're also working with DHHS or another local resource to help support them with additional funding for temporary housing. We did reallocate from the food and the supply budget to accommodate for the hotel stays. So I think it's something like 130 of the budget actually went towards hotel. And then what's left will be for food. We're still helping people that are either in the hotel or that we released. People who are still hungry on the street. So we're still helping to feed people. And then we also have a partnership with the chamber to help us hand out food cards at the event, and also through that process of helping people with food, since we reallocated from the food budget. And then supplies, we'll have warming gear and gloves, hats, basic needs items, personal hygiene items to give away to those who show up at the event. So I think it's about $13,000 for the supplies and the food that will spend up to that point. So I guess the one question that I have for you guys, this project was supposed to end on the 31st. Are there concerns, or do I need to get approval if, like, some of the supplies that we purchased are like on 4/2 or 4/3 in preparation for the event, since it's after 3/31, or do we need to make sure that all of the funds are spent prior to 3/31?
What do you have left? I don't think we've seen a budget
Not
number.
for this one, no.
for-
I gotta give that out.
Okay. So the budget was 198,720. There is, if you subtract, there's a total of 34,736, but 17,500 or 17,280 was the fiduciary, so that left 17,456.85. And this doesn't include the 17 that we have left doesn't include the projected hotel It only went to the hotel expenses through whatever Friday was, 3/17. So we had hotel from the 17th to present that we still have to take out of the $17,000 that's left, and that's going to leave about 13.
17 to present, like today, or
So
to present
we have
31st?
we have 17,456.85 left in the budget, but that doesn't include hotel expenses from Friday to present.
Today, what happens to the rest of the month? Are we not
We-
doing anything between now and the 31st?
That's what she's asking. We are, and she's, I believe what, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what you're saying is the month is going to run out, but the money, there will be leftover money. So she's looking for some direction. Should she keep it going past 3/31 to keep some people?
So let me clarify.
Yeah.
The event is scheduled on the 6th.
Yep.
And we want to have supplies and food there for the event. So my question is as we prepare for the event on 4/6, if we bought gloves or boots or whatever on 4/1 in preparation for 4/6, is that a problem, or do we need to have this spent down by 3/31? Giving us that extra week is going to help us not scramble, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right, but so I guess my question is, are you doing hotels between today and the 31st? And have you taken that into your account?
So of the 5 or 6, sorry, I don't know exactly if it's 6 or 5. Of those, our hope is that that's going to transition out within this week.
I see.
And so we're not adding any new, I mean, we've already used most of the budget for the hotels, and we want to get items out to people.
So does
Well,
that
I'm impressed that
require
you
an
got-
extension of a contract? What does it require to go beyond March 31st?
You guys just need to make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Laura.
Oh, no, I'm impressed you got 42 vendors going there.
Now, if they show up,
See how
y'all
they
show
fit in
up,
there.
please. This is my call out to you. Please show up and help people because they really need it.
And how are you you're just letting all the people you've contacted
We're
know?
calling them and texting them.
Letting them know
They're in my spreadsheet, so yes. And we have flyers. We have a Facebook page, the flyer. It probably won't make it out tonight, so it'll be released on Facebook tomorrow.
I know you said you had a
Yeah,
question.
Tasha, I'm sorry if I'll get some of the details confused. I read a lot of stuff, so bear with me. We talked about the cliff for hoteling and housing. I seem to recall that there were some federal benefits that were extended under COVID for food assistance that have recently gone away. Am I remembering that correct?
I think it was, I don't know if it's 3-1 or 4-1,
Okay.
but yes.
Okay, my question was gonna be, have you seen an effect from that on this population? But if it's on 4-1, we won't have seen it yet.
That's a convoluted question because a lot of the people didn't have food benefits
Okay.
at all. And so we did help them apply and get benefits. So they probably didn't benefit from the increased benefit. Or if they did, it was just for the month of whatever.
So, I do know that Tasha submitted a report. I know it's not a finalized report, but I just want to ask that that report be sent to council and also added on the agenda for public consumption as well.
Yeah.
That would be my one request, because I did get a chance to see it. I just want to say thank you again. Whoever's clapping that deserves a round of
Thank you.
applause. Because this was not an easy feat. I think you went over and beyond. I think our request was for 25.
25.
And what was the final number of people that you guys served?
I'm going to say 82 or 84.
So over 3 times the amount of people.
Well, that's not people. It's not people. That's families. So if they were individual, they were counted once. But if it's a family of 4 or 5, they were counted once.
So over the 3 times the expectation, was met. And like I appreciate the hard work. I know it wasn't easy. I know you had a lot of late nights and phone calls, all hours of the day and night, and a lot of questions, and a lot of unnecessary questions and speculations that seem to continue to get thrown around at the public comment booth, which is so unfortunate, especially seeing as how I received a call from one of the other people who also applied for this same funding, saying that Residents in Action was the best option prior to the meeting. So I again, just hats off to you and the crew for the hard work. I hope if there's any additional questions, council, please ask them. I just wanted to make sure I express my gratitude for the work that you did. And coming tonight, as we can see, you are on Nana duty. So appreciate you being here.
Thanks. And I appreciate the article. You know, when you interview, it never really, the final result is never really what you said, but thank you, Aaron.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I would like to say, and I don't want to bring this down too much, because I do very much appreciate what you've done. I think, and this isn't necessarily flowing from public comments that we've received, this is flowing from, and this is important, this is flowing from the federal government that gave us all these funds. With this winding down, I would like to see some receipts eventually. I don't care about John C. King, I care about the federal government getting those too. So I understand this is winding down in the next week or two. The reports have been very valuable. That's not exactly what the federal government's asking for though, and we do need that eventually.
It's already done, already submitted to our fiduciary, so.
Awesome.
So do you have to have the fiduciary tie things up before you know how much you have left after you've done all the stuff that's
I mean,
supposed to be
I
done?
guess they will rubber stamp it, but we're really
You
the
know what
ones
it
who
is.
have managed the money, so.
I'll make a motion that the balance of the funds, I'll say roughly $10,000, in case there's something you have to do, will go to help provide supplies for the home resource fair. I'm not sure that's what you're calling it, but I'll make that motion.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
I just want to add that I think it's important.
Can we add a timeline for that then? Because I think that needs to be extended, correct? So through.
Oh, yeah, to formally extend the contract, yeah.
April 30, years, whatever.
So, this is in preparation for the event
For
on
the event.
April 6th.
But is it a contract if we're saying that the balance of the money can go towards a specific event?
I think what
The
Councilmember
contract
Gunn is saying,
ends on the 31st.
that the contract has
So
to,
that's why
we should add a date,
that
right?
we should give her a timeline or
Extend the time
extend the
period.
timeline
Extension to
so that,
the 5th?
yeah.
Because I think what I heard you say was at least like 1st or 2nd. Would the 5th be adequate if we add a?
Well, the fair's on the
end date
6th.
Yeah. I'll say the 6th, just in case we need to
Okay.
run out.
Perfect. So,
And then I guess clarification, well, you guys need to vote on that.
I just would amend my motion to include that the contract be extended until April 6th.
and then we'll have that accepted. Okay.
Okay, and then as far as clarification on the date for the final report, what?
Sounds like
I-
it's submitted already.
It's not the final report. I mean, I don't know.
So,
We need to
I-
put a date on it because
yeah.
we have a lot to go through. I knew you and Corey went through a lot today, so.
Well, Thursday, we will, Thursday, yeah.
Question regarding final report, even though that doesn't have anything to do with the current motion, would giving you to the 25th which is 25th of April, which will be our second meeting in April, be enough time?
That would be good,
For the
yes.
final report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you get, I don't know what you've gotten to date, but normally when I submit the summary, I give a narrative with all of the data, and every time I submit, I keep the old data there so you can compare the old to the new, the new. The final report will just be clean the final numbers and a final narrative. So.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I just wanted to add that I think it's important that we show support because she's got 42 vendors. And I've been on the COC meeting conversations, and in light of some other conversations I'm having or experiencing with homelessness, it's amazing that she's getting so many people together that aren't just COC members to do this housing resource fair. So I'm proud that the city can show their support of that event. Thank you. If we voted in, because we haven't voted yet.
I just want to thank Tasha and her team for all your hard work and dedication to this project.
Thank you.
Seeing or hearing no other comments, the clerk will tally and display the vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Bringing us back to new business, item 11.1, looking for a motion to support to approve a resolution by roll call to vote to transition citywide elections from odd number years to even number years, beginning in 2026.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Can our city attorney explain why it's the proposal is for 3 for mayor, 5 for council versus 1 and 3 as it was recommended by the Charter Commission?
Sure thing, Councilwoman Schlechte. The short answer is Michigan election law requires, or prohibits rather, any term of office to be shortened. So, for example, you can't have an election for those that were voted into office, I believe wards 1, 3, and 5, and the mayor that were elected in 2021 and 2024, because they would then have a 3-year term, which violates both the charter and Michigan election law. So this way, and I have to give kudos to City Clerk Murray, when we discussed this at the election commission level, the way we're doing it now gives the voters the ability to decide who is going to be in office and would receive that extra year, both for the council and mayor, to transition us in 2026 to from odd to even year elections, and then going forward, we'll be on the even year track thereafter. So that's the basis for why the motion, or the resolution is written as it is.
Any other questions from council? Madam Clerk, we'll do a roll call.
Mayor Mahoney,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dancy,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Schlechte,
Yes.
Councilmember Bennell,
Yes.
Councilmember Forgrave.
Yes.
Okay, so that motion passes unanimously. Brings us down to 11.2, looking for a motion and support to authorize the signing of the contract with Axon and moving forward with the in-car camera project at the police department.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimously. Brings us down to 11.3, looking for a motion and support to terminate the contract award with Family First Builders LLC for the renovation of 404 Homewild Avenue and forego this transitional housing project.
So, second.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimously. Brings us down to item 11.4. Looking for a motion to approve the submission of the Home Investment Partnership Program, American Rescue Plan Allocation Plan, and authorize the mayor to sign forms SF-424, SF-424B, SF-424D, the Home ARP certifications, and any other documentation required for submittal of the allocation plan to HUD.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote.
I like the other system better.
It's growing pains.
I would, oh, she's gotta, never mind, finish this, I have a, before you go into the next one.
Okay. The item passes unanimously. Okay. Let's sell some houses.
Can we,
Is
can we
there any
combine them all?
Yeah, I was literally
Yeah.
just about to say, is there any objection to combining item 11.5, 11.6, 11.7, 11.8, 11.9, 11.10, 11.11, 11.12, 11.13, and 11.14?
I make a motion that we approve all of those items that you just listed, which is the sale of several city-owned houses.
Properties.
Okay, properties. Sorry.
Okay, it's a motion on the floor.
So moved.
It's been supported. Any discussion?
Just have a question, and it's not about any one in particular. There's a couple I saw that had a form where they have to bring it up to code. Is that form, I wouldn't go back and look, but is that form part of all of these sales?
Yes.
Okay. And then if some of these homes, I mean, some of them have the same buyer, so they can't live in two homes, so they're probably gonna be
Investments.
investment property.
Flipped or rentals, yep.
And do they have a timeline? that they have to work under?
Ooh, Shane, I don't remember that offhand, if they have a timeline. It's a generous timeline because of the condition of the homes and things like that.
I seen one on there that's been on my calendar for years.
Mhm.
Well, not years, for a couple of years, because the neighbor was ready for it to come down.
Yeah.
So my question was, do they have a timeline, Shane, that we're working with on those properties?
That's a great question. The timeline is no greater or less than what's stated in the Chapter 14 Code of Ordinances. We will, however, use a great amount of latitude to work with those investors who are making progress.
Mhm.
These homes are extremely dilapidated. We're very fortunate that the investors have chosen to buy these because it's going to save us a lot of money on demolition cost and actually put a very nice home back on the market. Some are for sale, some may choose to rent. But it's going to be a great opportunity for our citizens, and these will likely be more affordable than other homes. Okay?
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Okay, I believe the clerk has posted the vote, so we will tally and display.
Is that through 15? Through 14, okay.
Laura, I think we're waiting on your.
I don't have it popping up. Oh, there it is.
Okay. Passes unanimously. Which brings us down to 11.15, looking for a motion of support to approve the lot purchase between Green Development Ventures, LLC, and the City of Jackson, and authorize the city manager and city attorney to make minor modifications as necessary.
So moved.
I'll support for discussion.
Been moved and supported for discussion. Let's open discussion.
I know we wanted to kind of have a discussion about this because there's, 136 lots? So if you'd like to come up so we can ask you some questions.
Come on down.
Come on down.
I'd be happy to.
So will these properties that you're going to be developing, will these be sold as homes for someone to purchase, to live in, or will they be non-owner occupied?
These will be rentals in order to maintain the level at workforce housing and to take advantage of the pilot legislation. We have to have them as rentals.
Are they single family?
Yes. They're about 3 and 4 bedroom homes, 2 bathrooms. I believe it's about 1,440 square feet. We've got one on Prospect that was built before I started that the council's free to take a look at. I don't know if you've seen pictures of it, but it's a really sharp, kind of neoclassical design.
And that address, house number?
Do you know the address off the top of your head?
Address is only new house on Prospect in the last 20 years.
It's right off of-
It is. It's down the street from the.
It's right at South Jackson.
Thank you. It's like this second house
Thank
off
you.
of South Jackson going, what is that, north?
No, west.
West. There we go.
Good way of putting it.
It's on the north side of Prospect. but it's-
Okay.
Thank you. 206, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Corey.
It's 206.
That's easy. Okay. West?
West Prospect.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what way you're going, but if you're, it's not that far from McDonald's and Larry's and all those.
So,
But it's right off of South
So
Jackson.
I thank you for your question. I want to jump into that for a quick second on the, is it going to be a single-family house? A lot of developers across the state are attacking the housing crisis by building large-scale apartment buildings. Allen Edwin has been around for about 20 years. We've just sold our 10,000th home. And so about 5 years, they got into the rental market. And these homes, on average, lease for about $2,600 a month. With the pilot legislation just passed and with agreements with the city, we can deliver those rents at about $1,500 to $1,600 a month for a home that's extremely tailored to families.
And is that rate essentially, is that gonna be,
Affordable.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm think that's gonna be affordable, I think, for that many individuals, but,
It has to be under state law.
what was the question? My brain all of a sudden just stopped.
Happens to me all the time.
Is that rate gonna be subject to change? Like, how long will that legislation
Yeah,
last?
so the pilot legislation that was passed in December allows for the cities to negotiate directly with developers for 15 years is the
Okay.
term. So under the old MISTA law, it was for as long as there was a MISTA-backed mortgage. But since there's no MISTA-backed mortgage, they kept it at 15 years.
That's nice.
Let the record reflect, they gave a thumbs up to the house on Prospect. 206.
Is that a rental now?
It currently is for rent, yes.
And you said they built it how long ago?
They built it previous to the pilot, so it was before the agreement was in place. That's actually what brought us to Jackson.
So 2000, what year was it built?
Probably 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. If I had my
Actually, it was
computer, I could go to BS.
It's more recent than that. It was just completed. I started in September with the company, so it was before
Oh,
me.
I see. Well, this is an educational opportunity for you then.
Yes.
Has there been, or the affordability of the units, a market study or?
So it's based on the HUD guidelines published by MISTA. And so it's updated every year by county, and it calculates affordability based on a 30% of your income. And so that's the factors that we're using in setting the rent rates in this. So I think the AMI in this county would be in the neighborhood of around 50,000. So when you go to 120%, you're a little above that. You go down to 80%, you're a little below that. And so you look at a 3 or 4 person household, we think the rents can be around $1,500 to $1,600.
So would these be homes that someone could use like a Section 8 voucher to rent?
No, that's a different program. So this is for the 80 to 120% AMI.
80 to 100%, okay.
Yes,
So they won't have Section 8.
correct.
Gotcha.
And what happens if you build them and you can't rent them for $1,500 a month?
We've built over 10,000 homes and leased and sold all of them. And so we're confident in that. So the way the agreement is set up is that we're going to try to take down 6 initially, and as long as those keep renting, we'll keep on going. So what I really like about this agreement is it's kind of a partnership between the city and Allen Edwin, that as long as these keep on getting leased out, we keep on going. We've got a long runway together.
So it's not like an explosion into the market that
Correct.
disrupts rents and disrupts the community.
Yes, we're very key on market absorption and what the market will take.
You said the pilots are for 15 years?
Yes.
What happens after that sunsets?
After that sunsets, the rent would go up, we would dispose of the properties, we'd sell them to the occupied owner, you know.
Depends on what
Depends on what the market's doing in
what's-
15 years.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's doing in 15 minutes.
Right.
So essentially, someone could, in 15 years, essentially be renting to buy the home.
But they could be, yeah. I don't want to make any promises here that
Right.
that's what's happening.
But there's the potential for that.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think 136 single-family rentals in the market is going to break our market. I mean, based on just the number of people
No.
Yeah.
Tasha has found in the homeless sector,
Mhm.
this is a different,
It's a different
and
wage.
I'm a realtor, so I can tell you that people are waiting for, they're.
You're 100% correct. I've never seen anything like this in the state. Every town I go to, it is how quickly, how fast can you build these?
It's too bad you're not selling them, because that demographic
Yeah.
is looking to
It's
purchase.
it's very hard to build at that price point. And so in order to deliver these quality of units, we have to take advantage of the pilot legislation, and that's how we can do this. So.
Mr. Dancy.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Very good, sir.
Good. So I guess trying to get an idea of where most of these homes are built at, what area, what city, what areas in the state.
You can go to the AlanEdwin.com, which is the retail side. You can go to CopperBay.com, which is the rental side. We're in Lansing. We're in, Adrian. We're in Tecumseh. We're in Portage. We're in Three Rivers. We're in Grand Rapids. We're doing a lot of infill in Grand Rapids right now, and we're looking to do more. We're in White Cloud. We are in Muskegon. We are all over the state. We're in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah, I guess I asked that question because Jackson is a little different. I know we have like a 30%. What? Yeah. So, but I know there's a market because I know like the hospitals getting ready to hire more people. They got doctors who's living in hotels and things like that. So I know it's a market for it. I'm not against it. I'm just, the potential clients that some may be looking at, I don't know how they can afford something like this.
Right. Mhm.
So, that's a concern. I'm not against it, but I just there's a concern who's going to be left out of the market to afford this. So I'm just concerned about that. I like the idea. Like I said, I know there's also a market for people who can afford this, who can buy this. But I'm just concerned about that small percentage out there who we know won't even come close to that.
Stay tuned.
Just one prong of a housing strategy that we're employing. So it's not on Alan Edwin to do that. It's on staff, and we're looking to bring some more projects in the future.
So what I really like about this is that it does not tie us to the 137 lots, and it holds you accountable for if you want to continue to hold them, to build on them if other people or other interests develop for that request for 137 lots, especially taking it 6 at a time. That the desire for someone and the ability and opportunity for them to live in a brand new built home is a great thing. I mean, we've been talking housing for a long time. A lot of communities are talking housing, but you can talk housing, and then at a certain point in time you have to take action. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to take action, and I'm in full support of it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
One thing I will add is that our energy efficiency in these houses, compared to a house of similar size built 20, 30 years ago, the occupant will save about $2,000 a year in energy efficiency costs. These houses are very energy efficient. So.
Provide blinds, like that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
Energy Star appliances, blinds, everything like that come.
People can't afford blinds, and then they hang Superman sheets.
Yeah. No,
Superman
we have interest in seeing. Yeah.
Right now.
Nothing wrong with Superman, but not on the windows.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that deteriorates the value of the neighboring.
Yeah, I agree.
Will you be including any utilities with that rent cost?
The resident is responsible for the utilities, but because the houses are so energy efficient, those utilities are significantly lower than what they would get if they rented a different house.
Is the house on Prospect, is it on the market yet, or it is
I didn't check the last couple days. I know it was still for rent.
still for rent?
The last couple days, yeah.
Yeah, looks like it is. I checked.
And we've got other homes in Jackson that we rent, that we lease out as well.
I'm sorry.
There's other homes in Jackson that we lease out as well.
Well, I am a little concerned with the rent, but I like the idea of you're gonna build 6, see how
Yeah.
those go. A lot of them are in the Ward 1 area, between Ward 1 and 5, maybe. So I'm very interested in how it works, so. Okay.
Thank you. Not Brighton.
Any other questions?
Just have a quick one. This was maybe more for Shane than you. But as non-owner occupied homes, will they be registered under NORP? We'll be inspecting them every 3 years. And if something breaks, will you fix it?
Absolutely.
Being the landlord. Okay, great.
Yep. Yeah.
Great question.
Yep.
Same rules apply.
There's enough rules that are different with this,
Okay. Seeing or hearing other, any other questions? Okay, seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, passes unanimously. All right, brings us to item 11.16, looking for a motion and support to approve the recommendation from the Jackson Affordable Housing Development Board for an allocation from the City of Jackson's American Rescue Plan Act funds in the amount of $3.31 million for the support of a new home construction program and for the preservation of existing properties with specific program guidelines to be created by the Community Development Department. Been moved and supported. Mr. Laporte, do you just want to give an overview before we open up for discussion? Or Mr. Mays?
Coming up, Corey.
This is Corey.
Corey actually staffs the board and the actual, some of the plans in our head to go forward with this, I don't think are for public consumption yet. Not that we're not being transparent, it's just we have to work through the minutia of some things and get supports for things. So I'll let Corey just get into the, kind of the 30,000-foot view of that. Okay?
AKA filibuster.
Pardon?
AKA filibuster.
I have this reputation for talking a lot. I don't know where that comes from. I really don't understand. Thank you, Mr. Laporte, for that. I just want to feel shorter. Well, I'm thrilled that you have this in front of you. As Shane alluded, this has been a long-term process. The Affordable Housing Development Board was formed by this body back in November of 21, and was tasked with, among other things, seeking out a housing study, which was done with a company called Guidehouse, which City Council had recommended for you. City has been paying that company to do great comprehensive housing studies, needs analyses. And then on top of that, the body was but allocated about $3.5 million, which they were tasked with recommending expenditures to this body to help with housing needs, hence the Affordable Housing Development Board. So that work began back in November of 21 with data and culminated with two things. One, the final report from Guidehouse, which it's not in final view yet. It's still in draft, but it's just about there. There's just some typos they're fixing. So the Affordable Housing Development Board and city staff and the Community Development Department use that report, use the knowledge and experience that they have out in the community. The board members of the AHDB represent a wide cross-section, city council members, developers, social service agencies, Jackson Housing Commission. Mr. Green is on that body as well. Took all that into account, took some really, I think, quality recommendations, research-based, data-driven recommendations from Community Development Department, and came up with this two-pronged approach that you see in front of you. First would be an enhancement to the current community development rehabilitation program. If you're familiar, we utilize CDBG dollars to fund about $250,000 a year rehabilitation program with a cap of $25,000 for owner-occupied properties to do both emergency hazard and major component rehabilitation. That's a very strong program, always a waiting list, or generally a waiting list, I should say. Strong participation from the community, very well received. And then the second, the proposal you have in front of you seeks to enhance that program with additional funding and also some expansion with owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied properties. That comes at the recommendation of Guidehouse and also the AHDB. Then the second prong you have in front of you has to do with what we are currently calling a discount home building program. It's come up with many names and many formats, but the general gist is that there will be some support to provide assistance to, say, a developer, a builder, or a home buyer directly. We're still working out the details, of course, but that assistance would take the purchase price of a new home and make it affordable on all ends. The city would maintain oversight and control of that construction, both to create strong quality, but also to reduce cost, reduce overhead with greater numbers. And then also, then those savings would be passed down to the buyer, and the city would supplement that again with these funds to make the home more affordable for folks. That the target area is a 60 to 80% AMI, and then also some layered supports in there that would come from outside agencies, like perhaps a down payment assistance through MISHDA, some assistance through Habitat for Humanity or other social service agencies, some work on some benefit from a new tax structure that is out there that allows the sales price of the home to be capped at a lower assessed value, therefore lowering the property taxes on that home until sale. So they're not uncapped until sale. That, again, reduces the year-over-year overhead for the homeowner. So looking at those two buckets, the AHDB has put forth that recommendation to council today that I think supports the AHDB's work and knowledge and supports the Guidehouse recommendation and comes with unanimous support from the Affordable Housing Development Board. Thank you. That wasn't that long, was it?
To follow up on what Corey just laid out to you very eloquently, and very nice job, Corey. This has been a long work in progress, a lot of phone calls, a lot of cold calling developers to find out price points, builds. Alan Edwin has been instrumental in that, along with some other builders, just providing us information on build cost and how they work in communities in like Corey said, layers. You know, we have 80 to 120. Our program would really like to focus on more 60 to 80% AMI, because that's really what, if someone's making that range, they can afford a house payment of or a mortgage of about $140,000 a year. What Corey's talking about by the incentives, by taxes, is if we partner with another housing nonprofit, and the nonprofit is actually really the developer, then the assessing office can have that taxable value at that first mortgage. So it helps so that people in our community are not tax poor, right? You understand how the millages work and how many mills we levy. If we build a $175,000 house and someone to purchase that house, then they might not be able to afford the taxes. That's not because taxes in Jackson are too high. It's just their taxes are what the taxes are, and people cannot always afford that. So we need every single piece of the pie to make this work. We appreciate the council's support in this. We are calling this the 100 houses, basically 100 house build. So to answer Mr. Dancy, your concerns, and I think Arlene had brought some concerns, we're talking about 100 affordable ownership units, single family, that look just like this one that I showed to Councilman Benal and Councilwoman Benal and Councilwoman Schlechte. It's a beautiful home. If you want to see it, I'll show it to you. But that's the type of product we need in our community. And we're hoping you support when we come back with an actual program, because this is just the allocation, and we come back with an actual program. All the aspects of that program, we're hoping you approve in the future also. Are there any questions?
Council, what questions do we have? Or actually, is there a motion and support on the floor already? I can't remember. There's a motion and support. On the floor, what questions do we have?
I would encourage, since our demographic is getting older, I would encourage single level new builds.
We do have a model for that. We're working with 3 builders and designers to look at a ranch, but not looking like a ranch, maybe to change the roof, maybe a double gable end, something that gives it the appearance of a little bit larger by changing how the roof is structured, so they're not just ranch looking.
Well, the one that the city did on Webster, South Webster,
Right.
was very attractive.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was very attractive. That, you can do those all the time. Oh, sorry.
The ones that you did on Webster were very attractive. And I just have a concern that 60 to 80 AMI is going to be able to afford net 150. But if they can't, we can.
It's actually net about 140. It's 25,000 down with assistance of ARPA, $12,000 MSHA. That's 137 on a 175 build. That's actually $35,000 requirement by the bank because that's 20% down plus closing costs. It will be a couple $1,000s. So I've spoken with 3 different financial institutions locally who have given me the number I have just presented to you.
So the down payment is baked into this, because that's really what is the biggest roadblock I've found, I think, for people looking to purchase and buy homes, right? It's like you can afford the monthly payment, but you need, even if you go FHA and you need 5% down, it's a big chunk of change.
Yes, Councilman Forgrave. Unfortunately, we don't write the banking laws, right? So everybody buying a home has to follow that. When I bought my first house, I think I needed 10% down, or maybe it was 5. The banks require 20%, and that is a barrier to home ownership. And if we can help with that barrier to home ownership, we can get a lot of families into houses in our communities. Infill housing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, really, if you're looking at $140,000, I'm just looking at a mortgage calculator here, $140,000 total cost. If you can get that 15 or 20% down, it's even a hell of a lot cheaper, and you're owning a house than the apartments, the single family homes that people would rent. But it's less than $1,000 a month, right? And that includes taxes. So
Yeah, I get 1,040.
yeah.
But then you got to go by the area. You're 60 to 80% area income.
Right.
A family of 4 making $57,000 a year is 80% AMI. A one person at 80% AMI is $40,000 a year.
Well,
And I know a lot of major employers in Jackson. $20 an hour is $40,000 a year. So easy way to calculate a yearly salary is you double the hourly rate and add the wages. So somebody making $20 an hour could jump into this.
if you can make it happen, I congratulate you. I think that's great.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've done your homework.
So are there, in addition to the aging population, which we saw in the report was going to be pretty significant, I know that I've heard also too at the community, the COC, are concerns about homes that are also accessible for people who are disabled, mobility or otherwise. Are there any plans in place to support mobility or any other disability?
Sort of. And I'm not skirting that topic. We are looking at 60 to 80% AMI, and the other program that Alan Edwin spoke of was 80 to 120. Within that 60 to 80% AMI, we're looking at a single-family structure that is at grade. So as far as mobility goes, there's no ramp. It's just you're basically at grade to go into your home, other than the little step at the threshold. We can make sure that when we contact the builder that they have at least 32-inch wide hallways and so forth. And whom we partner with will help determine some of the direction we go, right? we absolutely have to partner with a nonprofit. We could do these without the nonprofit if the taxes are not an issue for council. Council could say, we don't like your plan, we want you to broaden who your partners are, and not with a housing nonprofit. However, the taxes then become the issue, right? And then we really roadblock a lot of people. It's not that they wouldn't be paying taxes, they just wouldn't be paying the taxes of what that assessed property would be at 175.
And like anything else in life, you can do a lot more with a team.
Yes.
But the assessment isn't based, and our assessor isn't here, so he can't confirm this, but assessment isn't based on what you pay for it, it's what its value. So if the value is 175, but you only pay 140, unless you've talked to the assessor, they may still get taxed at 175.
Not if we go through a nonprofit.
Yeah, so if we,
No, I meant for the property owner, not the nonprofit. I'm talking about whoever buys it
That's the
from.
reason why, because it's state legislation that passed. But I'll let Shane explain that in a little more detail.
Okay. Habitat for Humanity was instrumental in passing a law about 6 months ago, which really addresses what you're saying. The recipient of a house that's built by a nonprofit housing entity like Habitat reaps the benefits of at what the cost of the sale was. It was huge because nationally, Habitats nationally, when they build a house, what would happen is a new person would get in there who qualified for their program, but then they were basically really taxed out of affordability. And so this was created just for this. That's why when I mentioned the pieces of the pie, if every piece doesn't come together, every piece, the way that staff is going to make the recommendations, we have a failed program. And so we have to be a team in this choice.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What other questions do we have, Council?
Have you guys discussed a set amount of time that somebody would have to reside in these homes after purchasing them to continue to reap the benefits, so to speak?
MISHDA, with their down payment assistance, which we would pay back off if it's 5 years, we would have an affordability period also. And that would affect a couple of things. If you were able to get into the house in 5 years, your circumstances change. Worst case scenario, at closing, you just pay us back, and then we can put that into program income.
Right, and that doesn't include interest, kind of like MISHDA, right? Their program, even 5 years later,
Yeah.
you may have to pay it back, but
Right.
you're not paying above and beyond what you paid initially.
If you sell it to and you don't want to pay it back, you could market it as somebody's 60 to 80% AMI, and then they could qualify for that affordability. And what we would do is like we typically do to protect our interest is we file a legal document with a deed. So at the Register of Deeds, when some entity like American Title wants to go and do a closing, they see, hey, this is attached to it, and this has to be resolved in some fashion. And so there's always a backstop for that.
So just to piggyback off Councilwoman Gunn about the accessibility, I hope we don't exclude a certain group of people who can have opportunity to move into these houses too. I think, because you go to a lot of businesses, they don't have accessibility for people with wheelchairs. So I just hope when we building these, we also looking at that. You're talking about a lip. Well, able-bodied people, that's no problem, but a person who's not able-bodied, has a wheelchair, whatever, that's a huge problem. So I just think we should look into that to make sure that we're doing the right thing, because they have money they want to buy too. They want the same thing everyone else has. So it's not just for able-bodied. So I just hope we look into that and just we're not excluding a certain group of people who wants to have that opportunity too.
So I know it's broad right now in 100 homes, but I know I shared some plans for model homes that I got when I was at the MML conference this year for looking at duplexes, I mean, is that something that we could share with developers too? Because I think that would be one way to make a $140,000 home affordable to lower income.
We have also, there's so many programs out there, and we're trying to chase all of them.
Okay.
There's a missing middle program also, in which we have sent to every developer we know, we have sent those documents, and we will supply them everything that we have that they need to assist with that application. We had begun the application, but we need those entities pro formas, which makes it difficult for us to actually apply for some of those dollars. I think Mr. Green talked about different forks, or maybe made that comment, prongs, different prongs. Each of these is a different prong. Allen Edwin is a prong. These are this is like several trains going down separate tracks in order to hit a bunch of needs in our community. I can't hit every need. What I can do, though, is I can promise you we will put homes in our community. Affordability will be based upon developer, what banks will agree to mortgage, the assessed value. All these things we're thinking about, but I can't make a bank mortgage somebody who's not in that. I can't make the developer do X, Y, or Z. I can tell you the program that we've set, or that we have in on paper and have communicated with a lot of developers and banks, is they're all in the boat with us now. Every time I throw something different and change the AMI, affordability, down payment, they're having to go back to their underwriters and their banks. They will not, I don't care who you go to, they will not just say it's a $150,000 loan and the appraised value is $130, I'm going to give you $150. It just doesn't work like that. Okay, unless we can agree, get a bank to agree that some of the funds they have to use, some of the community reinvestment funds, can be used for gap financing, but that's then just used as gap financing. It's not saying we're going to write a mortgage where all the dollars don't align. So we're going to try and fill as many needs as possible with the funding sources we have.
Any other questions, council? Okay, seeing and hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Corey. Passes unanimously. Let's build some houses. Brings us down to 11.17. Looking for a motion and support to approve proposed purchase agreement with Jackson Public Schools for the purchase of T.A. Wilson School property, and authorize city attorney to make minor modifications to the agreement as necessary.
So move.
Moved and supported. Discussion.
I think it's important to know who we're going to partner with to take it over. I don't think we should be buying it without that condition in the purchase agreement. Because we aren't set up to run a home.
I mean, is that
the service that we're.
Is that something that's at a point that is ready to be discussed, or?
I mean, the only thing I can say to that is I do have an email of someone expressing interest for it, but in my mind, probably not yet. We had some tours through it, but we haven't touched base back with those people who suggested they wanted to be a part of our solution. I think now that if you take this action tonight to buy it, we can fire up those conversations. I know the will of the community is there to help the city and to take this over. I'm not afraid of that at all. But I do, to your point directly, Councilman Schlechte, I do have an email from an agency who's working with the Interfaith Shelter right now for employment. They see some value in the building and see a lot of value in our project. But other than that, we need to round that out. And I think the people working in this space were looking for this action before they really started to come forward and say, okay, now we know you're serious. Here's how serious we are.
So how would you propose, if this goes through tonight, how would you propose pursuing the serious players?
I don't think we need to get crazy. I think what I would do is go to, first and foremost, the continuum of care and ask for letters of interest from individual agencies or agencies who are partnering together. And then we'd probably, I would also say, have our public information officer put the word out and put some information on our website. I think just with that, we can drum up enough interest and bona fide plans for council to consider the disposition of it. I don't see us holding on to this long-term either, but I do think that our project plan as initially identified to acquire this building, install the pallet shelters, fix up the annex building is an appropriate plan still right now. And I think when we start doing that, like I said before, the supporters will come out in force, I believe, wholeheartedly.
And just want to add, based on conversations that I've had with some members of organizations around the community, there is definitely some high interest in taking this project over. Like, I'm pretty confident that we don't have to worry about that part. And I agree. I don't think this should be something that we should look at holding on to long term, but it is definitely critical in the next step for the path that we are already on. I mean, ideally, this should have been done, 1 to 2 months ago. Ideally, it should have been done, and we would have been able to have the ball rolling already without getting to this cliff of the end of the hotel project that we had. To me, this is just the continuance of phase 2. And really proactively trying to address homelessness and the issues around housing in the community. And I think that once the final plans come together, that we'll be pleased with the next move that happens with it, the partnerships and their long-term plans as well. I think we will all be happy with. This is step number 1, though.
I thought step 1 was buying the pallets.
No, in the next step.
Oh.
We done that already.
Oh, okay.
That's step 0.
All righty.
If not, we'll be asking Councilmember Schlechte to donate us a plot of land to put those pallets on as quickly as possible.
And pay for the power, that's expensive.
Any other questions from council? I see minds rumbling. Vice Mayor, Mr. Dancy, Angelita.
I think they're just eager to vote yes.
No questions?
So, I don't, not so much a question, but it may be. My concern has always been who's going to run this. I go to continuing care meetings. I listen to those. We get some some remarks come from some people in the continuing care. Not a lot, but that's always been my concern. Who's going to run it? Who's going to do this? Because I have no desire to have that building. We're not equipped to run that program. But you put your job on the line?
Would I put my job on the
You
line?
put your job on the line? I guess you are putting your job on the line. Okay, then. Thank you. He said he put his job on the line. You the man.
I don't know if I put my job on the line, but I do know that a big problem like this requires some bold action and requires us to stretch ourselves a little bit, and I'm unafraid of the problem, and I am buoyed by the support of the community.
That's good. Good enough for me. You put your job online. Sounds good. I vote yes then.
Teach me how to make butter, I'll go work for you.
Well, you can make butter. You can't. That's hard to do, baby.
Vice Mayor, any comments?
Get John King.
Not a lot. I just, want to make sure, and I guess you've and our manager have been more engaged in the partners piece, because I don't think that we want to not have all those pieces together at some point, and I don't know. I do have a little bit of concern with that, but if you've talked to people and are pretty confident, that we're going to get what we need inside that building to take care of the situation at hand, then I'm going to support it. And I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong at all. The partners, the involvement, the services that people need, the housing need, for the homeless population, it's all wonderful. I just want to see it all come together, as it should be, because I think it'll take a little bit of pressure off of the city of Jackson and our homeless population. So that's it. I probably didn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. Let's make some notes.
Yeah, I see the school board just approved the sale of T.A. Wilson. That's a good thing, I guess.
Usually helps for us to buy it.
And a little, did it added point there with the lights, that lights on the south end of the school there, or? I guess it works.
I'll just make a comment, just not filibustering though. I am in support of this. I do share, similar concerns to council members Dancy and Schlechte in terms of who's going to be running this. But, council member Robinson mentioned, you've been way more involved in this than we have. And I think, obviously, I know we've talked about this before, sometimes we just need to have a little skin in the game for people to say, okay, yeah, you are serious about this. This is something we do want to invest in, versus someone just saying, oh, yeah, this is something that we'd be interested in, but then nothing ever happening. And I'm sure in the nonprofit world that's something that happens way more often than we think it does. So I am in support of this. I do have concerns, but, sometimes you just got to take a risk and hope that it pays off. I think we're making a lot of strides in the right direction in the housing arena. I think this is a big piece of that as well. So I will be voting yes.
Mr. Forgraves. Any last comments? Okay. Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, and that passes 6-1, the one nay being Laura Schlechte. All right, that brings us down to item 11.18. Looking for a motion and support to award the contract to R.W. Mercer for the Masonic Temple build-out in the amount of $774,184. Provide $12,500 for allowances and a 15% contingency fund, and authorize city manager to execute potential change orders less than $50,000.
That's so too.
Okay, second. Okay, you can change it. So move. Okay then.
Any discussion?
So I do have a question about who is going to be, in this case too, who's going to be doing the incubator, who's going to be managing the kitchen, who's going to be doing the, yes.
Again, we have had some
Activities.
bona fide
Okay.
support on that from at least two entities who want to
Okay.
take pieces of this. They've met with me a few times. I know we've looped in the mayor a couple times, but this is really exciting, and it's going to be a long process to get here. Hopefully we'll get this open by the end of this year, but by the time we're cutting ribbons, all those questions will be answered and things will be approved by council.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Seeing or hearing no other comments or questions, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Passes unanimous. Brings us down to item 11.19. Looking for a motion and support to approve the letter of intent from Laura Max Stern to purchase city-owned property located at 971 Northwest Avenue and authorize city manager and city attorney to create the property transfer agreement to complete the sale of the property.
So move.
It's been moved and seconded. All in, any comments? I know, sorry, I reverted back. Karen, I reverted back. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Passes unanimous. And that brings us down to item 11.20, looking for a motion and support to consider the resolution supporting fair chance housing legislation.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion.
So, Mr. Mayor, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
It's pretty simple. I mean, we already have an ordinance in Jackson, the city of Jackson, supporting fair chance housing. I think the request is pretty simple here. The movement is now to try to get this passed at the state level. And I think with us having supported it and put it into action here at the city of Jackson, it is only right for us to pass that support on to the state legislature for consideration and showing that we are in support of fair housing and that it should be state level, it should be across the United States. I think part of the problem with recidivism is called keep out. You know, once you make a mistake, you pay your service to society, and then you come home, and then you continue to pay, and you continue to pay, and you continue to pay, where you're left with no other options or very little options that you can see that help you find proper ways to re-enter and return to be a productive citizen. And I think we owe this support to pass this resolution to pass on to the state legislature that we support fair chance housing in the city of Jackson.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So again, I think I totally agree with you. I think we're doing this a little bit backwards though, right? Because do you think it would carry a little bit more weight if we included in the resolution that we've passed this law already? Like saying that we actually passed a black and white law 2 years ago? Because really, I mean, I think the people we're sending it to know how these things work, right? They're going to be like, oh, the city passed a resolution, but they don't actually care about it. They just passed a resolution.
I think that would be an appropriate amendment to the resolution.
And actually including that in there somewhere.
Yep.
I trust Lisa to do that. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm looking at it right now, but yeah. Okay.
We'll tell the state legislature it's pretty easy. We've done it already.
Right. Yeah. Whereas it's easy. It's not that bad.
We'll even put in a come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
just for good sense. Okay, I think that's a fair request, Will, and a good point. Any other comments? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. And passes unanimous. In item 11.21. Okay, evaluation of appointed officials. So one, thank you for entertaining putting this on the agenda. I would just make a motion to create a ad hoc committee to create a process for to give an evaluation to our appointed officials. And I don't think it would take longer than 60 days or less to come back. Looking for to create that ad hoc committee, be 3 people on there to come back to this body with a recommendation on how we can do an annual evaluation.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Now, it would be a committee to evaluate this.
No, so this would be a ad hoc committee to create the process and the document that we use and bring back to this body for approval to then implement.
If I can add some context. Matt, you might be able to help me out. We embarked, the previous council embarked on a review process for its appointed officials in 2020, 2021?
2021 with the Rules and Personnel Committee, I do believe, and I think at the time it was Councilman Bunnell, Councilman Forgrave, and then Mayor Dobies.
Yeah. So this is not unusual. I think we can use part of the process this from the last time for this one. Last time, the review process was contracted out. I think we have all that knowledge of how it went before, so we can probably do it in-house this time and save some money. And then for the record, I'd just like to say, I think I've been doing a good job, but it'll be nice to get reviewed and actually be told how I'm doing, because I do enjoy my job, and I think I work every day as if it's always on the line, and what I want to do and on a consistent basis is make sure I work on the things that are important to council, and I deliver the results that you wish to see instead of guessing, which can happen from time to time. And I think doing this regularly and routinely prevents that. So I'm really looking forward to it, because I love this job, and I'm always looking for ways to get better and to serve the people better.
Hey, John, get me real fixed.
Nope, motion's on the floor. I'm just looking for any additional comments that anyone might
So want to do
want to
it
make.
ad hoc, or do you want to run it through the rules of personnel committee?
No, it'll be, I think, ad hoc committee.
No
Who's
questions
going to
from me.
determine who's on that ad hoc? You?
Yes.
Do you need that in the motion, or you just gonna?
I'll do a friendly amendment to the emotion, but I think that's already in place, but yeah.
Do we have to vote electronically, because I just shut my computer down?
Now, why would you do that? You know we gotta vote electronically.
Can you put my vote in there for me?
Madam Clerk, would you be so kind to do a roll call vote?
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dancy,
Yay.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Schlechte,
Yep.
Councilmember Bunnell,
Yes.
Councilmember Forgrave,
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes. Passes unanimously. And that takes care of all the business, brings us down to council member comments. I never remember which side I start from. How about we start with council member Gunn?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a lot of activity around housing and homelessness, and I'm just hoping that we're making the right decision when it comes to affordability and access for as many people as we can here in the city. But yeah, I'm excited about everything that we're moving forward with. So thank you.
Right. Councilmember Danty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you very much. No, I just think, I didn't say it real. I just think everything you're doing, everything you have done, open up a lot of eyes and what's out there, what's needed. And I look forward to hopefully be part of that, the conference, the event that you have on the 6th, April the 6th, right? Okay, I just want to make sure. And, you know, and I appreciate it. It was a lot on the agenda in a sense. You know, like doing a lot for the housing, the vacant lots. Seems like there's a lot of interest in this, a lot of motivation. So, you know, I thank staff. I thank staff so much for everything that they do, all the hard work that they do in the background, and on top of whatever that's going on. You know, Shane and the staff on the 3rd floor and throughout the whole city, staff everywhere. But I appreciate everything that they're doing, and I appreciate just putting so much work in, so much research in, making a lot of calls, trying to find developers, and just a lot of things that they've done. I appreciate that. You know, I always said at the end of this month I would make a decision, and whether or not to run for re-election. You know, it's just one while I'm just like, no, it's up and down every day, almost. I appreciate what I'm doing. I appreciate the opportunity that was given to me doing this work. I love doing what I can for the 2nd Ward. I appreciate everything I do. I try to do for the 2nd Ward. Even for the city, I see so much that hasn't happened. I got in 2015, and I see so much happening. And so just happy with that. Always fought for, you know, building outside downtown, and I know it was a purpose for building downtown and building out. So it's just so much that has happened, and then what's going on in South Side, the opportunity that's going to happen over there is great. You know, I look forward to doing things. I think Page Avenue was great, trying to be opportunity for great things to happen on Page Avenue. You know, some with the hospital and everything on this side. So, you know, I said in this month I would decide, because if I don't run, I just want to make sure whomever decides that they want to do it, they have plenty of time to put in. I'm not saying they haven't already done it, but then again, you know, I just want to, whatever decision I make, and it'll be made next week. I just appreciate the opportunity, you know, of sitting in this seat and doing this. Again, you know, my decision will be next week, so I have an opportunity to talk to my wife about it. She said do it, but, you know, every 2 weeks, it's a commitment. A lot of people think, you know, it's not really, but it's really a commitment when you really believe in what you're trying to do. You know, with me, I have more flex time, so I can do more, get involved with staff, and try to do things, try to have meetings, schedule meetings, try to talk to constituents, and, you know, I enjoy that. I enjoy talking. You know, I would never write a ordinance or a resolution, but I really do believe I like helping. So, you know, I will decide next week. So we'll see. Thank you. Good night. Sleep tight.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Once again, I want to talk a little bit about the homelessness in Jackson and the appreciation for Tasha and her team for all they have done to make things better for those that are homeless. The staff, I appreciate all the work and commitment that you have put into these situations that I always have had near and dear to me, housing. I came in and a lot of things were rolling with the blight and tearing down homes. I didn't always support. There were a few times that they convinced me that this house or another was, too far gone and it needed to come down. So there were some that I supported, but a lot of times I did not. But I'm happy to see that we're looking at rentals, we're looking at homes, new homes for persons to be able to purchase. I am a little reserved with the price and the costs, but, prices are different. I won't say what I paid for my home, but that was 40 years ago. But it takes a lot to keep them up, and I know things cost a whole lot more now to put together, so I just need to do my own homework, get real, and what an average house costs to build and that sort of thing, and I think that's kind of been put forth in front of us by the staff. But I appreciate those are the things that I wanted to see change. I wanted to see homes come back into the vacant lots within my ward specifically. There's so many vacant lots, and, I saw quite a few addresses on the list that are right there in Ward 1. William Street was really a lot of those there for rental units, and I know that's a cross street for me, so I do go up and down that street, so I know there's a lot of empty spots there. But these are things that I wanted to see happen during my tenure as a council member, is to bring some life back into Ward 1 with housing, and now we have the corridor and all the things that we've got kind of going in that area. It's something I sit down and talk with previous mayors about, and Daniel and I are from the same stomping ground, so I know we're on the same page with that, growing up in that area and seeing where we are today. I do want to also say I'm going to do my best to be there. I got something going on dental the day before that, but hopefully I'll be feeling well enough, Tasha, to be there on the 6th, at least come through for a minute, depends. Knowing me, I came out of surgery and went to King Center, so, I usually put myself last. But I do want to just say that next Wednesday, I think the 30th, maybe it's Thursday, there's going to be a meeting at King Center to speak towards Neighborhood Watch. I believe it's 6 o'clock, King Center. Cheryl, GVI coordinator, and Diane Washington and I will be there. We haven't put our whole agenda together, but we will be addressing the Neighborhood Watch groups for Ward 1 in specific. So if you can come out, I think she says an hour and a half tops, so we should be there no longer than that. And that's all I have for tonight. I'll be following up with some of the department heads, because I really want to get a good understanding of the houses and the rental units that we are looking at putting in Ward 1. Thank you.
Early, what time?
I believe it's 6 o'clock. It usually is 6 o'clock. That's my favorite start time. So I think it's going to be 6. If it's any different, I'll let you know. Okay. It should be on our website too. I believe Aaron's putting something out on it too. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Will Forgray.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Let me just preface this by saying I think Mayor Mahoney definitely had his head in the right place. But I've been quiet. I need to say something, and we've all said something or sighed during the meeting. I think you had your head in the right place. I really like the new agenda online. It's easier to navigate. the voting system, we've had growing pains now for 3 months, and it's a pain in the butt. And even if it does work perfectly, people can't read it, and I'd like us to find a solution. That's all I gotta say. But I do agree. I do like the new agenda. And if it's as simple as being able to vote on the big board again, I don't know if that screws up what Andre is doing. I don't want to. If it does, then throw that out the window too. But I'd like to figure something out. So that's all I have. I know it's small potatoes, but.
Nothing small.
Councilmember Bonnell.
Thank you. Couple things from me. I know a couple other council members have already mentioned this, but I do want to give a few shout outs and thank yous to Tasha for all the work she's done, even though she's got a lot of haters. I do really appreciate all the work that you've done, going, I feel like, above and beyond what you originally were planning to do. And I know that the unhoused individuals definitely appreciate you and your team and all of your hard work. I want to thank city staff. We selling a handful of properties today and getting a lot more housing stock so that we can get more people housed, whether it's rentals or homeowners. I don't love the idea of another 136 rental units in Jackson, but if it means that people have a place to stay, I'm happy about it. Other than that, I do want to also echo Councilmember Forgrave on the new system. I do love the new agenda and being able to access everything a lot more easily and not having to shuffle through a ton of paper. But it is a little clunky, so hopefully we can kind of get that figured out one way or another. And other than that, that's all from me.
Thank you. Councilmember Schlechte.
First, I want to thank Shane and Corey and their staff for all that they've done with the housing issue. That's huge, what we've done tonight, and that was clearly a lot of work on their behalf, and digging and looking for people to come to town and invest in our community. And in that thank you, I want to thank the Affordable Housing Commission, because I've sat in 2 of their meetings, and they really have done, the 2 that I saw, they really listened to what staff recommended and bounced off their ideas and concerns. And I think between staff and that commission, they have come up with really good options. So I want to welcome, he's not here, but I want to welcome Dave, AKA Coin Spencer, as the new DDA director. Super excited about that. Maybe he hasn't given notice to the DPW department, but Hattie? Okay. He's gonna be, Corey did a great job and Dave's gonna do a great job. So I'm super excited about that. And then I want to welcome Commonwealth Associates to our downtown community. They did a beautiful job on the Comerica building and making it their new home, and that's been a long time coming. So it's nice to have that infusion of something new like that in our downtown. So that's all I got.
All right. Whew. I'm like everybody else. I got a list. But I'm going to try to go as quick as possible because I know y'all ready to go home. Tasha, I don't know if I'm happy or upset that the baby did not wake up. Them things are contagious, especially when they cute, and I know that's a cute baby over there. Thank you, like everybody already said, for the work that you've done, you and your entire team. Hopefully, like, we can continue the good work with the actions that we took tonight. I want to thank the Vice Mayor for holding it down while I was away for a work obligation, even though I was away and out of state. It's funny because myself and the mayor of Albion were in the same place. Her meeting was on Monday, mine was on Tuesday, and we were both like, man, I'm so nervous. Like, I got a city council meeting. She told me first. I'm like, you do too? I got one tomorrow. And we both watched from a distance. So this work it goes home with you. It goes on vacation with you. It goes everywhere when you really care. So I appreciate you for holding it down. I just want to address the comments from Mr. Williams in short. I think that it is great that you take enough time to attend our meetings. I wish you would stick around long enough to hear the comments from council after you make your inflammatory comments. And I wish you would at least be accurate, because I did not start a nonprofit while being mayor. Many Hands Community Services started in 2019. Just want to clarify that. I am not using this office in any way to try to promote or grow the organization that I started to serve the community that it serves. So at least be accurate when you come in here. Blinds are a pet peeve of mine also, because when you have 5 children, blinds get broken very easily, and the fastest and easiest thing to put up to replace it is a sheet or a blanket or whatever you can find to keep the neighbors from looking in your house. And they are expensive to replace, and I have several broken blinds if you ride past my house and want an example of what broken blinds look like. I'll be the first to say I have them in my home. Madam Clerk, I love how you coordinated your bracelet with your mask today and all the work that you do. Maybe I'll find a time to coordinate with you by the next meeting. Mr. Attorney, I appreciate you being available. You know, in most times, if I call you, if you don't answer right away, you'll call back within an extremely short period of time. So I appreciate your availability. Corey Mays and yes, I do. I'm a Michigan football fan. I'm a state basketball fan. My mind's divided. I know it. I'm sorry. I just had to clarify that. I was only a state football fan for the short period of time that Kari Willis was there. I switched totally over. Corey and Shane, thank you so much for the work that you guys did around housing. Corey, congratulations, and DDA for the social district ribbon cutting. And us finally being able to get that pushed through. I do want to just mention that, and I'm sure we probably could follow up with the chief, that there are a few minor concerns from our law enforcement of some small issues that I feel like need to be cleaned up that I didn't even think of. But I love having that relationship with our law enforcement to be able to get that clarification and get that direct feedback on how things that we do here can impact the job that they have to do out there, especially around something like that. I would just ask us to get with the chief so we can clarify some of those issues that they've identified in that huge opening weekend. But if I go out, I generally will go to Bellanote, and I see now that they were on the agenda to join the social district, but I promise I have not seen that many people in Bellanote alone in a very, very long time. I don't know if it was just the ribbon cutting of the social district or the combination of it also being St. Patrick's Day, but downtown was buzzing all Friday night, and it's just a wonderful thing to see. Couple of dates for people to put on their calendars. March 23rd, that is Thursday, is the MLK Corridor meeting. It is at the King Center. It starts at 5:30 for those who are interested in what's happening with the MLK Corridor Authority. Want to also send a personal invitation to everyone and a reminder that the State of the City address will be on Wednesday, March 29th at 6 p.m. At the King Center. I wanted to do it at Booth Center, but I know that they are undergoing a much-needed renovation. So we will be at the King Center at 6 p.m. on the 29th. April 6th, just a reminder of the Homelessness Resource Fair at St. John's Church over on Mechanic. April 21st, mark your calendars for the second annual Summit to Reduce Violence. Those are all the dates. It is April 21st, 8 a.m. to, I think we should be done by 2 o'clock, and it is at Jackson College. There will be a ton of flyers, a ton of additional promotion that we do between now and then, but it's 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Breakfast and lunch to be served. I know, food people gets people there. Man, Councilmember Dancy, if your wife said do it, you gotta do it. I'm asking you to do it. I think you are a great council person, so I don't know if this holds any weight, that I'm asking you to do it also. And I think we all know that the saying, happy wife, happy life. So if she said to do it, we got to do it. I want to say thank you to all the council for tonight, because tonight was truly a monumental meeting in so many different ways. But like the largest thing is like tonight, and this was something that was shared with me by city manager. So I would just say thank you for sharing with me this, right? So with the passing of the 137 houses and the passing of the additional 100 houses, we are going to build more houses in Jackson, Michigan since World War II. That is a long time. That deserves an applause. I agree. I clap for it myself. So one small request, because I know she's watching, but before I say it, I just want to say how much of a sacrifice it takes from all of us and anyone who's willing to serve the community. As you can see, you got Tasha literally holding her baby, which is my baby's classmate, Isla. And today is actually my daughter's 10th birthday. So I'm just going to ask for a personal favor, because I know she's watching right now, because I told her mom to have her watch. Can we just say happy birthday?
I think we should sing it.
Which one?
Oh, if we can sing it, that'll be even
That's
better.
what we do
What's
here.
her name?
Okay, her name is Olivia.
Olivia. Okay.
Here we go for Olivia.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Olivia. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, sweetheart. Now go to bed. Man, has it been 3 months already for board docs?
It has.
Okay. I didn't think so. You got me sweating over here to get to that part. I'm like, 3 months? Jeez. But it feels like it. But this is a sincere comment. I think it's growing pains. While I would like to take the bull by the horns and say, I'll get right on top of that issue to fix it. This is what I do know. I do know it's possible because it's done across the street at our friends at the county. They use board docs as well. So I think it is just something that the people at board docs has to help us figure out how to do that. I agree. I think it is nice for it to be something that runs a little bit smoother, but I think these are just growing pains. I think the longer we use it, the more adapted we will get to it. I do know one thing across the street when there's an issue, and this is something that we might just want to consider to expedite things. I don't know if the clerk has the ability to enter a vote for if someone's having trouble getting that vote to pop up. But I know at the county, as long as it's not something that requires a roll call vote, when things get stuck or people get stuck, because I think it was a lot of user errors across the street, not necessarily the system. No diss to them. But a simple thumbs up or yes to the clerk if you're the one stuck would allow and enter that person's vote. I don't know if the clerk can do that. She'll have to follow up and let us know if that's something that she can do from her end. But as far as getting that to show, until we do get it to show, I'll continue to read out who votes how, and I think that it's posted afterwards on the website to recognize who. I just wanted to at least address. I do agree that we can use some ways to expedite the process.
That's Freddie, not me. I got my phone,
And
but it is him.
lastly, man, it's so great. I always say no idea is an original idea if it's a good idea, and that seems to happen a lot. So stewardship, taking care of the things that you have, is the fastest way to increase. It is the first step to increase in any capacity. So thank you to, I cannot remember her name, but she said they're going to do a cleanup in Ward 5, right? Christy, thank you. Because like minds think alike, right? Also on May 6th, there's a cleanup in Ward 1 along the MLK corridor. And some other individuals expressed interest in doing a cleanup over in Ward 2 on the street that people, I think, a lot of times mistake as their personal dumping grounds. I don't even know if that's in Ward 2. I think it might be just outside the limits. But we got some people on the east side who are interested in a cleanup. I would think it would be a good idea for us to try to put something together citywide, some type of cleanup, community cleanup day on May 6th. I mean, we already have 2 to 3 wards out of the 6 who are interested in doing some type of cleanup project, 2 of which fall on the same exact day. Also aligns with an idea that I had to just do it like an adopt a community business collaboration with us and the citizens to be able to get some things cleaned up. And I know that there was some talks about doing some cleanup around the downtown area as well. So I just think that would be a good idea. Anybody who needs some help coordinating or ideas on projects can hit me up, because I think that would be a great thing to see us all work together to take care of the community that we live, work, and play in. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To close things out for the meeting, I really appreciate the work done tonight by council, the support you've given to city staff. I really like hearing when you give some props and you notice city staff beyond me at this table. What I'm trying to do at the city with our culture is promote leadership at every level, leaders at every level of the city. And the way we do that is recognizing that the people, the staff we have working closest to a problem are usually the best suited to provide solutions to that problem. And we also, they're also the ones who are best suited to understand what needs to be done first and how things can be prioritized. And then beyond that, how we can accomplish our goals in the most concise and simple way most concise and simple way. And then the last part of that is making sure we're always considering who else needs to be involved and who else can promote and help us in what we're doing. And with those 4 things right there, working together as a team, making sure we create simple plans, making sure we are focusing on the first things first, and making sure we are always looking at who is closest to the problem for a solution. And with a bias towards action, we can solve any problem that comes the city's way. And beyond solving problems, we can get to a point where we're working proactive to create the best city of Jackson possible. So thank you for all your words tonight. We'll make sure our staff knows how much you appreciate them. Thank you.
So move.
It's been moved and seconded. They are reading my mind. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are